Hello. Hi there, everyone. Is anybody here yet? This is my first Instagram Live. Hi. Hi, Catherine. Lovely to have you here. We're going to be talking about all sorts of fun things. Beck, hey. Oh, you've got different names. This is new. Sky Palace. Jane. Hi, Jane. Hi, Dior is golden. Hi, Walking in Pasos. Hi, love. No love for the broken. Oh, this is great. Her lifestyled. Hi. La 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 let. Hi. Hi, River Ebony. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, everyone. So, my name's Olivia Naomi Bryant, and I am going to be sharing with you a class all about this wand. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Ophelia. Oh, I love that name. I know, on Insta most people have other names. I know, so anyway, Sky Palace. I like it. Clocken. Hey, Anne-Marie. Thanks. Yeah, feel free to write your actual name. That'd be great. Hey, peace and love. Hi, Business und Zitronen. That was probably terrible. Okay, so happy to be here with you talking about this little passion project. Well, it's actually a big passion project of mine. So this is the release wand, aka the one wand, aka the invisible wand. It has gone through and is still going through name changes. It's a shapeshifter in form and function and name. So hi everyone, if you're just joining now, I'm Olivia Naomi Bryant, and I'm going to be sharing all about how to use this wand and how to get the most out of it, because when you really understand how to work this, it's actually an amazing piece of, I heard it called wand technology. It is kind of wand technology. I mean, look at this thing. So I'm really inspired to do this and actually speak about it, because I never really do. And I get so much beautiful feedback on this wand, but also so much confusion about how to use it. So I want to share with you all the little tricks and secrets of this wand, and also some best practice also about de-armouring and how best to do this with this wand, and pleasure. And also for those of you who are in the self-Cervix work, also how to use it for best practice with some of the things that I teach in that program, so at the end. So the story of this wand really is when I started this work, we're nearly at our 6th birthday. I was in Bali and I had nothing to practice with. And I used one of those, this is kind of embarrassing, but I used one of those glass, Pyrex plastic. They look like glass straws. It was literally the only thing that I could find in Bali to use to touch my cervix, because you can't take in any pornographic objects. And also, even though they sell like massive wooden cocks on the street, you can't bring in any pornographic paraphernalia. So I had nothing to practice with. And so I bought this straw, and I was doing my practice with my straw, and I thought, wow, actually, this is really, it's really good. And that was the first piece of inspiration for this end of the wand, was actually having a precision end so that you can get really specific inside of yourself. So then after that, I spent a whole year trying to find the right wand for this work. So I was very, very specific on what I wanted. I wanted it to be big enough that it would reach my cervix. I wanted it to have the right curve so that I could relax and not like strain and reach around. I wanted it to be able to be good for pleasure as well as de-armouring, which is a process that I'll talk about soon. And I couldn't find the perfect wand. And I looking back now, I think like, wow, I'm quite like, I don't know if I would do this again had I known the 5-year journey that I've gone on creating this wand. A lot of trial and error, a lot of finding the right people to create it. And now I'm finally in this place where I'm really happy with it. Like, it hasn't changed much. It's just some of the things that, just more detail to it. So now it really is the only wand I use. And to be honest, I went in through a phase of like, okay, I'm going to design a whole range. I'm going to do another range, and it's going to be wider, and it's going to be, you know, more like girthy. And it never worked out. And I just kept coming back to this wand. And then over time, I just started realizing more and more that it does everything I need. So I never really got around to creating another one. And so, yeah, the other thing that's pretty cool about this is that, you know, my mum is very, I would say, she has been quite shy. You know, she's quite a good girl. And when I started this work, you know, her friends would ask her, what is Olivia doing? And she'd be like, ooh, you know, she'd feel a bit uncomfortable sharing that I was like teaching cervical orgasm to, you know, her friends. Turns out they were really intrigued and loved it. So she was like, oh, okay, it's okay. It's okay. My daughter is teaching about orgasm and sharing about her orgasmic life in public. But it's okay. People get it. And so now she is the one that is sending out the wands. So when you speak to Shirley, if you've ever had an interaction with the mysterious Shirley, that's my mother. She's 73 years old, and bless, I think I can have her on board for about another year, posting these out for me around the world. So yeah, I just want to acknowledge my mum for doing that. And her partner is, he also like looks at the wand underneath a glass to check that it's, you know, that they're safe, all the wands. So it's very much kept in the family. So that actually brings me on to a point about glass wands. When you get a glass wand, whether it's this one or any others, a way that you can check that it's good quality is you want to get a pair of sunglasses. Put on my sunglasses. And the sunglasses have to be Polaroids. So Polaroid sunglasses. And then you hold the wand up in front of your computer and have a look at it. And a good quality glass wand in front of your Polaroid sunglasses. So not just ordinary sunglasses, but your Polaroid glasses. Right, so you can have a look like this. It will be clear. A lot of the wands that are cheaply manufactured, if you look at them through your Polaroids, you'll find that they'll have rainbow colors or brown colors. So that's a way that you can check what you're using to see that it's seriously safe. Because after all, you know, you're putting them inside of yourself. You want it to be, you know, the best quality ever. So that was one of the pieces that took the longest time for me to perfect with this wand, is like really getting this just in full integrity. So yeah, that is the backstory of this wand. So I think why this wand for me feels so special is that it can actually do the de-armouring and it can actually do the pleasure. And what I've noticed is you can use both ends, but over time I've now got it down to like, this is the end that I use for de-armouring. For that reason that I told you about, mainly it's got the side that you can use, and it's got this pointy end. So you can actually use many different surfaces when you're de-armouring. And then this is very pleasurable, and I'll talk about that very soon. So first of all, does anybody, do they heal sexual trauma? Interesting question. Let me get into that in a minute. We'll go there now. So does anybody not know what de-armouring is? So I know that I had a question coming in from someone who said, what is de-armouring? So I thought, before getting into it and assuming that you know, De-armouring is a way that we clear the emotional memory from the tissue. So, oh yeah, okay, no, question mark, good, okay, cool. So our cervixes and our vaginas, it holds a lot of stuff. So they go through a lot, you know, the whole range from medical procedures, you know, abortions, abuse, shame, lots of sexual partners, you name it. A lot happens. A lot of it is our own stuff that we hold there. Might be our mother's stuff, might be intergenerational, might be collective, might just be stress in general from life. Like I know, for example, that when I'm driving my car, or I have to bring so much mindfulness to my pelvic floor because I'm literally like held up. So it is a key place, the muscles that surround the vagina, the vaginal canal, can hold a lot of tension. And so we can experience a lot of numbness. We could experience some acidic feelings or painful sex. And this is a way that the tissue is armoring. So we call it armoring, and it's like a shield. So you know when, if you were to hit something, it would hurt. It would be like, ow, right? So when you're feeling pain, there's your tissue is signaling ow, right? And your nervous system is like, right? And if you do that enough, eventually it will numb out. Like I think about my heart. You hurt me, it hurts. You hurt me a lot, and I'm going to start shutting down, and I'm going to feel numb. So it's the same applies to vaginal cervical tissue. So we can feel limited amounts of pleasure. We can be not particularly orgasmic. When I started this work, I was not orgasmic at all. And this is why I started this work, because I discovered through my own, you know, research and, you know, I'm curious that I had this numbness, not just at my cervix. My cervix was pretty much completely and entirely numb, but also my entire vaginal passage, right? I had a lot of numbness that I needed to heal. So when you say, does this wand heal sexual trauma? No, it doesn't heal the emotional repetition of the past that we can continue to play when we haven't had enough trauma healing. But what it can do is clear the past from the body. But when it comes to sexual trauma and clearing it, you really need to do the somatic work, the holistic work. What I found is that it can clear the ways that we, you know, habitually hold tension in that area, or some of the past things that have kind of that are still holding in the emotional memory inside of the tissue. So when you do this practice, you can end up feeling some uncomfortable things, like possibly nausea, possibly tears. It's not dissimilar to when you have really beautiful sex that's connected and you cry, you know, and it's not orgasmic, it's just a release. It's because you're releasing from that tissue, right? And it's similar with the de-armouring. You are holding space, holding a sacred space for yourself to go through a release process. So it can be very deep work. And I've got a whole body of work around this. So I'm dancing within the scope of this class, how much I can share with you that feels safe and responsible in terms of, how deep you can go. So I believe that, you know, with the right tools and a little bit of coaching. So for example, when you are going through a de-armouring process, if you have some places inside of yourself that feel okay, like the soles of your feet, or you can open your eyes and be in the room, or you have this beautiful memory that you can turn to, you can move yourself away from anything that might come up that might be too hard to hold. And then also a lot of it is remembering how powerful we are so that we can hold the space for us to release whatever is in the way. Okay, so de-armouring is the release and the space making. It's probably a better word than space making. So you're clearing the space inside of you so the channel can move, the energy can move inside and around the vagina. You want to have a lot of blood flow, a lot of energy movement. And so the channel is also open from your cervix all the way up, height, and all the way up. If you're locked and blocked vaginally, if you're holding, then that is going to resonate up through your entire system. Because here's what's really interesting. The signals from your cervix, they travel upwards to your heart and your brain. So the state of your cervix, you know, for example, I think about when my cervix was numb and I'm having sex and I'm not particularly orgasmic, I'm curious, was my cervix sending signals to my heart, to my brain? I'm not safe. I'm not safe. And so my work became about how do we start to create safety inside of ourselves at all places, at all levels. It actually just started working on the numbness of the cervix, and then it grew over time. Okay, so that's de-armouring. Does that make sense? Does anybody having any questions around de-armouring? So you're literally releasing the armouring, clearing numbness, relieving discomfort. And I think it's really important to say that this is like a life practice. You know, it's like yoga or whatever it is that you do to maintain your health of your health and well-being. This is just like maintaining the health of your vagina, right? It's kind of like going for a massage for your vagina with the wand. And like for me, it's my go-to practice. And I know if I'm stressed and I haven't done my practice, I know that next time I go to practice, I'm just going to be meeting a lot of stuff inside of myself. You know, there's a lot of like, you know, that I've got to like, hey, relax it, make space. And I think the good news about this is the more this kind of becomes something that your body gets used to, it's like muscle memory. It means the next time you go back to it, it doesn't take so much time to clear the space. What do you recommend as a practice? A little bit each day or longer sessions? And how many years did it take you to become orgasmic? Thank you for those questions. Thank you. So there are so many ways that you can practice. I was going to get onto this soon, but I'll get onto it now since you asked. You can do a longer practice. But what I've found is sometimes the conditions need to be a little bit right for that. Like, for example, when you do a bigger practice, you need the time, right? So it's not always feasible to do a big, long practice. It also requires bringing your whole self to it, right? So there's a level of commitment to it. So, you know, when I first started this work, I think for the first year, I was pretty committed. And I suppose I did at least some practice once a week. And then over time, it's kind of scaled back. And it wasn't always long practices. I don't, you know, I always treat this part of myself, my cervix, vaginally with so much respect, and always I'm listening. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be like an hour-long session. So you have to feel what is feeling good for you right now. Like you might have a thing that every full moon, I'm going to do a release session. And then every, you know, once in the month, I'm going to do a smaller session. Like it's really up to you what you have capacity for. And after a while, you just kind of start feeling like you want to, or feeling like you just really are clear. It becomes clear. Like, you know, it's, again, I liken it to, I haven't had a massage for a while. I need to go get a massage, and you just know. You know, and the good thing about this, and I love this one because of this end, you don't need to be like, oh, I'm so fully turned on and juicy and alive now, I can do my practice. Like, you don't need to do that with this wand. You just need to be a yes to like a millimeter of entrance. That's why this end is, you know, somebody said, the end's so pointy. Why is the end so pointy? It's for two reasons. The precision, so you can, there's actually a stroke that I'll show you later. It's for the precision, but also so that you can actually just rest this little, your wand, like right here. Like, it doesn't have to go in at all, really. It can just sit there, and then you're doing your practice. You're just working here and around. Okay? So how long did it take before I began? So I remember about, and I want to say with terms of like how long does it take questions, everybody is different. Because we all have different ways that we carry and hold stress. We all have different traumas that we've been through in our lives. We all have different levels of commitment and devotion. Remember, I was leading this program, and I'd never had a cervical orgasm. I was leading this program. Where I was coming from was, let's figure this out. Why are we numb? We know what's possible. We know that this incredible spiritual orgasmic experience is possible. So let's go on a journey and find out. So the stakes were very high for me. You know, like I had to show up for myself. And so, you know, you'll do a lot of avoiding. And I did a lot of wanting to avoid. You know, it's like, sometimes it's like one of those things where you avoid the things that are good for you. And instead you go for the cookie jar or whatever it is, you know. So you can come up against your resistance. And I want you to know that if that happens for you, you know, it's like hold space for that. It's just a part of you that feels like probably a little bit afraid. Some of the main fears that come up are, what if I can't feel anything? What if I'm doing this forever and I never feel anything? What if I then confront the voice inside of me that says I'm inadequate? I'm undesirable, you know? And so we really, you know, one thing that this practice gave me, I haven't answered your question. It took me about a year into practice. I remember I was sitting in Rome, and one day I decided that I was just going to do a meditation, and I was going to do nothing. I was going to have a meditation. I was just going to literally just sit on my finger. Sit on my finger and do nothing except feel. And I remember that practice because I was in not an amazing room, like some kind of not a great hostel room. And I was like, I'm just going to sit on my finger and meditate. And that was the day where I started to like feel the benefits of my practice, because I could really feel. And it was like I could feel through the walls of my vagina. It was like my finger was like 10 times bigger than it actually is. So yeah, but that's why I said at the beginning, you can't ever say how long, because my stakes were very high. I had to practice. Some people, it's much faster. Some people longer. It's not really, you know, it's much as we want to say, like, all I want to do is the orgasm, let me hurry up and get there. Sometimes there's a lot of work that we need to do before we can have that experience. Sometimes there might be a little bit of like self-love work that needs to happen first. A lot of learning how to let go, learning how to be, learning how to get out of the habit of like having to do and push, you know. So there's a bit of unwinding that might have to happen. So what I got really good at was the curiosity of just becoming like a fuller and more whole human being through the process of like, you know, exploring my way to orgasm. And it's really important to hold this in a greater frame of, you know, like, you know, this is a journey over the course of a lifetime, and sometimes it's going to be great and sometimes it might not be, and you might not feel anything, but in the course of my lifetime, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm here for. And no matter what happens, I'm all in, because either way I'm going to become more magnificent as a result of like, you know, exploring this deeply and learning to love myself and show up for myself in a whole new way. So all right, So let's get on to some of the techniques. Does anybody have any questions? So let's start with de-armouring, since we're on de-armouring right now. One thing that I like to do, depending on how I'm feeling, like if I know that I've been holding a bit of stress, I'll usually do like a little bit of de-armouring before I move into pleasure. That's why it's great that this wand has two sides. So I might just start here and then I'll switch. But you can also de-armour on this side as well, by the way. So I want to share some of the keystrokes for this wand. Somebody asked the question, how long is this end? This, from here to here, it's 6.5 inches. From here to here. Happy average. So I call them the point, which is the point. I call it the lean and sweep. And there's a rocking and there's a tracking. So I'm going to go through each one of those. So the point is literally as it sounds. You use the point. And when you use the point, in fact, one of the major things that I need to share with you is when you use the point or any of this, you are not there to force your tissue. You're learning how to be. You're learning how to receive. You're learning how to surrender ultimately and feel. This is not about your will. This is not about your must do, it must have this clear open vagina, in a certain time frame. You're learning to let your body lead. Let your body lead. Because mind, this used to be my trap. When I first started this, I was so wanting to get this right that I was really pushing a little bit too hard. And what happens is you just end up re-traumatizing yourself. The tissue doesn't like it and it doesn't work. So what I've learned over the years is the discipline of what I call the lean. So the leaning is, so I was like, how do I demo this? Have a sunglasses container. So let's say that you begin, I'm going to put it this way. Let's say you begin your practice. You're just going to start at the entrance. And the lean is, you literally just lean, like, huh. You don't need to push, just lean. And breathe really deeply into your belly. So just for a moment, put your hands on your belly. Or even actually, if you can, put one hand underneath your vulva and one hand on your belly. Oh, thanks, Ophelia. Great question. And take a deep, deep breath. And take a breath all the way into your hand. And then relax. And just do that one more time. So you're breathing down into your bottom hand. Take a deep breath and breathe down into your bottom hand. And you'll feel like this expansion. So when you're leaning like this and you breathe, there'll be a tiny little opening. Like your vaginal opening will just open as you breathe in. And then as that happens, there's a little natural stretch. And the tissue might just allow you, I call it this tissue yawns. It's like, and then the wand might just sink a little bit more deeply in, right? So that is the level of artistry that you're approaching this with. It's like you're allowing the body to let you in. Instead of you pushing the way in, you're allowing the body to let you in. So Ophelia asked, do I do any foreplay? So it really depends. Like if I'm going to do a big ritual practice, one of the ways that you can do this, it's up to me. Like, how am I in my body is what I'm going to be asking myself. One of the key ways that you can really bring yourself into your body and create a sense of cohesion, which is where everything is in alignment and all the systems in your body are working in symphony, is actually breast massage. Deep breathing, breast massage brings you into your body, creates this like cohesive system, and it's also connected, breast and nipples, especially nipples, connected to your clitoris and your cervix. You know, there's brain scans that show when you stimulate your nipples, the same region of the brain lights up when you're stimulating your cervix and your clitoris. So it's actually connected. So if I'm going to do any foreplay, that is probably the where I'll start. And then another thing that I really like to do is, with oil on my hands, is like long strokes across my vulva. Just like long strokes, like a lot of breathing, long strokes. So I don't want to like zoom in to my clitoris and like really start on this kind of, you know, sort of turn on train. I mean, you can if you want. You absolutely can. There's no rules. It's really up to you. But I think what my point is like you also don't have to, because all you need is a yes. If you're not in your body, if you've just had a busy day and it's hectic and then you just like lie on your bed and grab your wand and then that's not being respecting and loving of you. If you've had a busy day and you don't have a lot of time to practice, then the least that you can do is like take some breaths, touch your body, hold yourself, wait until you feel like there's at least a yes to sit here at the entrance. Okay? So there's a comment. Love making with a partner can slow the process. Like if you are de-armouring but your partner keeps hitting the cervix. Oh yeah, love making. Yes. So I hear you. This is where communication comes in. So Soraya, I think that's Soraya, you've got one name, Soraya Hara. I love this question and I really want to get back to it. So remind me if I don't. Hopefully I can just scroll through it and get back to it. Yes, so let me take you through this and then we'll talk about the partnering thing. So yeah, you're going to lean. So this is the lean, and you're going to wait, and then you're going to move a little this way and just hold and lean. So you let the weight of the wand lean into the tissue, and your tissue yawns open and receives. Okay, so the tissue is receiving. You're not pushing. The tissue is receiving, and you're breathing. So this is the point. So it can actually bring up feelings of, you know, all the acidity, acid feelings inside, sensations. And if you feel that, that's your armoring as well. So if that's there, you breathe and you expand and you let the wand lean in. Yeah, let the wand lean in. Really important not to push already kind of stressed tissue in your body. So that's the point. So you can use the point as you go up. The great thing about this is that you can use the point and then you can swap to the side. So you can point and then you can lean with the whole side of the wand. You can point and you can lean, where you can point and you can gently press up. Point and gently press up. Yeah? So I'm going to recap these as well. You've also got the sweep movement. So after I've done some, you know, like some detailed work with leaning and a bit of pointing, I might just do a sweep like this, just to see if there's anywhere else at the very entrance that wants more attention. So then I might want to go in a little, but it's usually what happens is I just find that the wand has moved in a little. My mind hasn't gone, time to move in. Push. This is what I mean. Like, if you're not a yes to practice, this is in relation to the do you have foreplay, you will know if you're pushing. By the way, sometimes you might want a tiny bit of lube on the end of your wand. Not too much, just a tiny bit, or a little bit of oil. So I usually find that it just naturally starts to move a little deeper. The most sensitive areas, well, actually, we're all different. So, you know, just see, have an explore, but often it's, you know, about here and about here. I don't know if you can see, but if that's 6 o'clock, it's like 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock. Yeah. So the other move that is really great is rocking. So you want to you can, if say the wand is in a little further, you can actually rock like this. So you rock, and like, let's say the wand is really quite deep and you're rocking, you can end up, so your vulva is wrapping around here now. So your clitoris would be here or here, depending on your build. So you're rocking and you're actually meeting the vulva. It's wrapping around the vulva, and you can, you know, lean into the vulva. You can lean in and then you can rock. And you can lean in and then you can breathe, and you can feel the connection all the way from your vulva, your clitoris, through around past your urethra, your entrance to your urethra, and all the way to the tip of the wand. So you're creating connection from the tip of the wand all the way through to the let's call this the shaft. Yeah. So another place that's really good to explore is up along beside the G spot and the G ridge. So your G ridge runs along the top wall. This is 6 o'clock, runs along the top wall of your vaginal passage. So let's say you just to the side on the left or the side on the right. So generally what I do is I move really slowly, and I call this tracking. So you move really slowly up the side of the G spot. And then I might lean the entire length of the wand on it and lean and press. And then I might do little rocks all the way back down. But, you know, I'm moving really fast, by the way, so I would go so slow, and I'd pause a lot. And I'd feel like, oh, okay, there's something here. I'm just going to pause here and breathe and expand and let the tissue yield. You know, let the tissue yawn and receive. All right, so I'll just recap some of these strokes. So we've got the sweep, which is like where you're sweeping around. You've got the point, where you're using the point. You've got the rock. And the rock you can use like this whole area and the point. So rock. And you've got the track, where you're tracking with the point along. The other thing that's really cool about this is that because of the shape, you can relax your wrist, your arm on your leg and your hip bone. You know, those times where you're just like trying to get under and it's like a bit of strain. When you're de-armouring, you need to relax your chest, your shoulders, your throat, and it's really hard if you've got tension in your arm. So with this shape, you can hold it here and actually rest your arm down, which is actually my favorite feature because I can have such a lazy self-pleasuring session and basically there's no strain on my arm. So I'm just curious, did they read? Do you get what I'm saying with those strokes? So the point, the lean, where you're just leaning in with using the shaft here, using the side. The rock, where you can really work, and you're going like, this is how slow you'd be moving too, like really feeling what's there. Oh, there's a spot here. I'm just going to pause, and I'm going to breathe, and I'm just going to lean and or it might be down the bottom, like, oh, just lean, yeah. And track, which is like you're just like tracking with the point, like a little, I think like a little sniffer dog, like where is there needing to be some pause, yeah. If you push too hard, if you override the signals of your tissue, which is like, ow, it's hurting, and like you're like, I don't care, like we're gonna clear this out, you'll find that you're like, it will kind of feel uncomfortable afterwards for a bit, you know. And what I found is the more I've learned to be patient and lean and let the tissue yawn and receive, the more I feel it. I'm not feeling like I've violated myself in any way or hurt myself in any way. I feel like it's more respectful. I don't recommend doing this every day. Do this, you know, if you're going to do like, you know, a big bit of it, a big chunk of de-armouring, do it every second day so you have like a little recovery time for your tissue. It's normal for feelings to come up that are uncomfortable. So if nausea comes up, pause and be with it. And if you can't be with it, bring your attention into the soles of your feet. Bring your attention back into the room. You're here, you're safe. breathe into the greatest version of you, knowing that you can hold space for yourself and the vulnerable parts of you that are still carrying any pain, hurt, and trauma. So if you are in partnership, you can have a whole session with your partner on this. But with regards to making love with your partner, and this is happening where they're hitting your cervix, your partner needs to understand. And it's a very gentle conversation. It's just literally about, my favorite ways of making love are so respectful for the cervix. And my partner loves it too, because, it's just like, the more sensitive my partner is, like, the more he can feel, the more I can feel, and we need hardly any movement at all. And it's totally orgasmic. I think, there's a lot of, there's no judgment on any kind of sex that you want to have, but definitely if you're not turned on enough is one thing, and your partner, is like, there's a lot of this going on, then you need more foreplay so that your whole cervix and uterus lifts up out of the way, or you need to have some communication around, timing, speed, pressure, just in the moment communication. And, if your partner, really cares that you're having a great experience, I'm sure they'd want to know if, you're feeling that sharp, like, feeling. I remember that feeling, and I would go along with it because I didn't want to, I just thought, okay, well, I've just got to bear with it, it'll only hurt a couple of times and then it'll be fine and then it'll be over or whatever, it's like, oh, I can deal with it, or it's not even a conscious thing. You just kind of go along with it. And this is sort of, you're overriding your body intelligence. And, this is why this is a journey of self-love, because you're learning how to really advocate for yourself and speak up for what you need. And you can do it in the most beautiful way that can cause incredible connection. Your partner can actually tell you when they're on your cervix, and that can be a really beautiful communication and connection. They can say like, oh, there's your cervix. And, your partner can just pause there and hold, and you can relax around, I don't know what gender your partner is, but if they keep hitting the cervix, I'm assuming that your partner has a penis. So you can just relax around it and just feel that connection and feel the energy between you. So this is why when you do a lot of training in this work, you just get very refined in your sensitivity. So first step is just having the communication, and creating something that works for both of you. Most partners are totally on board and quite fascinated actually, and love it when they're touching your cervix, and you're just I really recommend when they're on your cervix, let your sound out, just voice from there, relax around your partner. Okay, so yeah, when you move to the pleasure side, I love this side so much, and it just got better and better with time for me. So first of all, the other thing is when you remove the wand, you got to go so slow. Go so slow. Just feel everything. Yeah? And the wand will feel like it's 6 feet long. So this side, what I love about it is it gets all the places. So when I'm using this wand, I play a little game with myself. I enter myself very slowly, and I try to see if I can feel the wand all the way up. I try to see if I can keep connected to where it is, and I keep relaxing over these bubbles. And I keep seeing, okay, I can't really feel there. I pull out a little, and then I proceed again. So I play this little game of just trying to feel. So, we've all got different anatomies. So it's going to be different on all of us, but in general, this perfectly sort of sits your G-spot in here around these like humps and bumps. You can do the rock again, which really I think is my new favorite thing. You can rock this wand. It's getting your G-spot here, and it's getting your urethra and your clitoris here, right? So it's like, whoa, right? So here would be your clitoris, and then you're rocking, and you're getting your G-spot, and you're getting your A-spot at the top. So your A-spot is your anterior fornix. It's in front of your cervix. So it's like your A-spot, your G-spot, your urethra, and if you're, depending on your anatomy, also your clitoris, or you can touch your clitoris as well, and then you've got every single spot is being serviced. It's pretty, like, quite mind-blowing. And actually, it was only in this last year that I truly discovered the magic of the rock. You know, and what's so great about this is those of you doing self-cervix work, you can do the sigh practice over this, you can do your cervix breathing over this, and you know, you can do the yielding practice over this, and you can just relax. You don't have to move your arm. You can hold it like this. Like, you can hold it like, and it just, your arm is relaxed. It's all relaxed. You don't have to kind of make a huge, you know, it's not a huge production to kind of get, you know, reach under there and get, you know, hold it there. So this end is really beautiful to work with your cervix. So just doing a little swirling actions around the top gets your anterior fornix, your A spot, and your cervix. If you don't know what your cervix feels like, first of all, I highly recommend making sure you have some connection with your, if you don't, with your finger first. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, it's okay. Just know that it can be, especially if you've got a little numbness at your cervix, hard at first to find, am I on my cervix? Where is my cervix? I can't feel it. So it can be good to acquaint yourself with your finger so you know what you're looking for in terms of sensation. If you don't feel comfortable doing that yet, or if you're still trying to figure that out, even just doing general motions in the top region, you'll get it with this wand. And over time, you will start to feel it. So what I love about this wand is this end is the bubbles really taught me how to feel. You know, there's enough terrain that I could bring my mind really, I guess the detail of it, I could bring my mind into it and like really practice softening around it. And that was when I started to become quite orgasmic. So are there any other questions? So if I'm going to do like some pleasuring around this, absolutely. I have a lot more foreplay would be going into this, you know, to answer the foreplay question before. I would really make sure my body was ready to receive. And even this end, your body still has to be ready to receive, but the energy that you're bringing to it is different. This is a kind of a quieter, healing energy, and this is like a kind of a sensual. I mean, this can be sensual too. I mean, it can be everything. It can be anything. It's up to you. So, I think that might be it. There were some questions. Yeah, if you're setting up, somebody's like setting up a ritual, it is good if you want to do this at full moon, you could do a de-armouring release ritual and decide what it is that you want to release. You might just have an intuitive sense of something that, you know, you've been feeling lately. It might be something you've been holding for the month, for the day, or it might be something that you've been holding for years. It might be, you know, you might be having memories of a lover that just from the past that keeps coming up, and you can do this. You can create a ritual where you're actually every time you lean in and every time you like soften and release and let the tissue yawn, it's like, oh, I release the imprint of past lovers. I release the imprint of this procedure that I had. I released the imprint of, intergenerational holding around, feeling not good enough. It can be anything like that. So, yeah. Oh, I didn't actually get to the cervix. So that's really important. When you're de-armouring your cervix, again, I think if you, it's the same applies if you're not quite sure where it is. It can be quite hard to find it with the wand at first until you know. What's really cool is that you can work around the cervix, and you can, or you can work around the general area, and you know that you're getting into some of the ligaments that hold really tight around the cervix. So in my body I can feel it because the ligaments that are holding my cervix are pretty tight, and I know now when I'm on them. For me, like I said at the beginning of this class, I have a habitual tendency to put a lot of stress in my pelvic floor, so I'm pulled up a lot, and my long time practice is everything that I can do to ground myself. And so this is why this is an amazing practice for I think many of us actually are pretty drawn up in the body, unless you're living close to nature or unless it is your nature. Many of us on our devices and sitting in traffic in our urban environments, we are not necessarily always open, right? So that's why the process of release rather than the process of pulling up, for me, was the key to becoming more orgasmic, which is why this wand is my primary, tool for creating orgasmic conditions, so that my pelvic floor is not too hypertonic, tense, and yeah. So when you're on your cervix or around the cervix and the ligaments, and is really, really good. So you can do that with either end. And it's really great when you're on the cervix or in the general vicinity to do the rock and get your this part of the wand around your clitoris, and if you can, if your anatomy allows it, but generally it will, even your urethra, anywhere on your vulva. And you can create this connection and the association of pleasure, especially if you've got numbness, or especially if it feels icky. Having a connection to your clitoris, it's bring it into your mind. It's creating a circle of energy between the two. It's really useful as you're learning to bring pleasure to your cervix. And so then I do a lot of the point work on the cervix. So a lot of rocking point work like this generally, especially with this end. And a lot of holding, a lot of stillness, a lot of breathing, a lot of imagining my cervix is yawning onto the wand. Yeah, so really this is for the entire internal place, or you can it's very handy. The other thing is you can take something like this to Indonesia and they don't know it's a pornographic they don't know it's a pornographic object. Okay. Oh yes, for IUDs, yeah, you can use it with an IUD. Your IUD is sitting inside your uterus. Unless it is already partly dislodged, it would be pretty hard to dislodge it with this. If you're having sex, you can use this wand, even though this is a pointy end, And somebody asked, can I do this when I'm bleeding? What do you think? Again, this is your body, your choice. There's no rules. Listen. For me, day 1 and day 2, it's a bit too intense. I'm very sensitive. I don't need to feel anymore at that time of the month for me. About day 3 can be really good, just to help and support the release. So, in general, this is so good for bringing energy flow into your entire vagina, bringing a lot more consciousness there, bringing yourself down, grounding yourself, and really, we say in my work, the principle of the descending current. It is the first current that needs to be in place before the ascending current can open up. You need to be dropping down into your body, and so partly if you're held up, if you're carrying tension, if you're disassociated from that place, then it's like the descent doesn't quite make it all the way down. and you try and go for an orgasm or lift the jade egg, but or pull your energy up, but you're not actually yet in body. So this is why this is one of the tools that we use to bring ourselves completely down. So that's it. So are there any questions? Can you clarify me, when you're saying entrance and in a little, are you talking about the actual cervix or the entrance to the whole the entrance to the whole vaginal canal? This is the vaginal canal. So here's the entrance. Yeah. Do I need to worry about stretching the tissue, as I've had babies and I'm conscious about laxity? If you've had, the thing is with all of this, even with laxity, there'll be areas of tension. Even with prolapse, there'll be areas of tension. So a lot of pelvic therapists have recommended this wand. So you don't need to worry about stretching your tissue. No, you don't have to. And also, I just want to say, listen. You gotta start paying attention to what you're feeling and sensing. Like, I know when a practice isn't right for me. It just doesn't feel right in my body. Yeah, so it would be really interesting for you to know exactly how the laxity is inside. Like, are there areas that are tense? Is it all kind of, lax, or are there places that, you're holding tension? You could explore with your finger and see first, how is it in there? Is there any tense spots? What I found sometimes with my finger is it doesn't seem to have the same weight. So it doesn't seem to lean in the same way. So that's why I like the leverage and the weight of this. Yeah. Any other questions? I will be saving this live so that if you haven't seen it, you'll be able to see it on my the page. So this wand is our wand. It's called the Release Wand at this time. And you can buy it on our site, selfcervix.com. Also, at the moment, you can get it with a ritual. So you can do a ritual package. So it comes with an Awaken Your Cervix meditation and ritual. The ritual won't be delivered until end of next weekend. But you can get the wand on its own, or the wand ritual package. So, or you can just get the ritual on its own if you've already got the wand. So selfcervix.com. How do we really ground ourselves? Well, for me, the primary way is through cervical work. I'm grounding myself, because when you touch your cervix, you're actually stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system, your vagus nerve. So it's really key. Other ways is you don't actually have to, touch yourself at all. You don't have to go inside. We have a practice called the cervical sigh, which is like no hands de-armouring, and you just literally imagine that your cervix is melting down towards the earth, and it's like you can imagine like a descending current moving down into your cervix, deep down. Anything that you can do to bring yourself closer to nature, feeling into the soles of your feet, putting your feet in the earth, stretching out your psoas muscle, doing TRE, which is called trauma release exercises. You're just you're activating the tremor response when you lie on your back, and you tremor your legs, and you can relax the psoas muscle, which is extremely grounding. So when you're not grounded, generally the pelvic floor or the psoas, it's all kind of pulled up and your energy is moving upwards. So anything that you can do to relax your pelvic floor, relax your psoas, and relax your soul is going to be grounding. So for me, and for many of us, it's being closer to nature is it's grounding to the heart, which actually gives a physiological response, kind of a through-on effect through the body. yeah, and you know, all the usual things: meditation, yoga, yeah, eating well, drinking well, water. So are there any more questions? I've been touching my cervix for months with my finger and it still feels numb. I've had 2 leaps done, yeah. So it will depend on the amount of scar tissue you've had. You've had 2 leap procedures, that's major. And one thing that you could consider doing is getting some stream work done, which is scar tissue remediation work. So there are stream practitioners worldwide. You could find one. They specialize in internal work, pelvic work. And it's interesting with the cervix and sensation. I have places on my cervix which will be numb because I have also had 1 leap. We call it LETS, but a leap procedure. And what I have found is that for me, even if the surface in some areas is not particularly sensitive, the sensation is referred. So it's like I'll feel a kind of a deep feeling and sensation inside of my belly. And the longer I stimulate my cervix, like turning, you know, if I'm on my cervix for 5 to 10 minutes more, if I can, moving my finger often just a constant clockwise circle, that over time my mind starts to connect with the space behind the numbness. So your numbness is a shield, and what is behind it? So you imagine this 3-dimensionality of this area, and your mind is very powerful. Pleasure is perceived, sensation is perceived. So I play a trick on myself. If I feel numb, I stay with it for a while, and I don't focus on the numbness. I focus on what I can feel behind the numbness. I go into that space and I invite it to emerge, and I invite the sensation to show me. So the pleasure might be different than what you're expecting as well. It is a whole different nerve set. So when I was first looking, I was kind of looking for something that felt like my clitoris. And though after a while it can feel like a very horny clitoris inside of you, it's a very, it can start off extremely subtle. And it's a deep low tone of a sensation rather than like a sharp high tone, which would it be more of a clitoral sensation. So play that game with your mind, and like move behind the numbness. You can map any way you want inside of your body. It's kind of like looking for what you want to see. It works everywhere else, so why not inside of our body? So, does anybody else have a question? And for anybody who missed the entire call, thanks, Rita. For anyone who missed the entire call class, I will post this on our wall, on the Instagram wall, so that you can watch the replay. Thank you for all your amazing questions. It is an absolute joy to share this with you. And if you are interested in it, you can find it at Self Cervix, and you can find it with the ritual package. And in that ritual, I'll take you through what I've been talking with you about this evening. Thank you so much, everyone. Sending you so much love, so much gratitude, lots of love. Bye-bye.